Welcome back. The global 16 days of activism against gender-based violence is a key international movement to call for an end to violence against women, and not just women, girls of course. Now in every country and culture, more action is needed to ensure women in all their diversity live free of violence and coercion. The health impacts of violence can last a lifetime, and also it can affect the physical, mental, sexual and reproductive health, irrespective of how we see it. Then most importantly, it is that human rights, public health, gender equality they've played a key role in bringing attention against women, which seen as Human Rights Day. With me to talk about all of this together is Lois, Amele. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good to see you.
Yes, again.
All right. I'm sure you probably had lots of media rounds, but then I would like you to brief our viewers at home and talk to them as if they do not know anything about the 16 days activism. Please, can you just brief us on what it is about generally?
Okay, so the 16 days of activism is a day between 25th of November to 10th of December.
Yeah.
Now 25th of November is the day to eliminate violence against women and girls, so eliminate violence. And then the 10th is Human Rights Day. So we usually start from 25th and we end on the 10th. Now every year the UN gives us a theme, and our theme for the year is invest. First, unite. That means all of us, we need to come together. NGOs, CSOs, we all need to come together. Unite. So it's a unite campaign. Invest to prevent violence against women and girls. Okay. So that's the theme for the year. So we usually use those themes. Even though different organizations used to always get topics of their own. I don't know, some people do that, but me, I always have a focal point for every 16 days of activism. And mine is it's not snitching, it's reporting.
Okay.
So it's not amiable, it's reporting. Because if our team is invest, what are we investing in if people don't report the crime? If they report the crime, then we know how to invest and know how to go about it. And that's why we can now say, legislators, judiciaries can now start working. But if there is no reporting of those cases, how do we move from there? So let's start reporting those cases, then from there we can go on. So it's a time for me to advocate against violence and against women and girls, and talk about the fact that people should be active bystanders. Talk about things. If something is going on in your environment, it's important that you report those cases so that we can know how to go about it. And then I use this period to employ people to join, the 16 days of activism. You don't need an NGO to advocate. You don't need you can, and as an individual, you can advocate. You can begin to talk to your neighbors. You see violence in your environment, you can begin to talk to people about it, so that they can end violence against women and girls. And not just women and girls alone, because I know that the men are also going through.
I was going to get to that.
One violence or the other, because I saw there was a news between July and September, about 360 men reported case of violence, battery from their wives. Because if now we're talking about it, a lot of men will be like, did you hear what happened in Lagos? Yes, we've heard about what happened in Lagos, and we know that these cases are there, and that's why we're saying violence in general. And as we're advocating for women and girls, I feel like the men too should hear about what's happening, so that they can also, try to advocate. They can also, do this, because this violence, there are different types of violence, and one violent act that we don't really talk about is the emotional abuse, and it always starts from there. It starts from there when you begin to insult, you begin to say things, derogatory statements to the next person. From there, then the thing leads to, I want to hit, I want to beat, I want to do one thing or the other. So we're saying, let's stop every form of violence. Emotional violence, which can lead to psychological abuse, physical abuse that we all know, that's the battery where you see beat marks, different types. Stalking is also part of it. Economical abuse is also part of it. All of those things. Harmful traditional practices that involves breast ironing, female genital mutilation, child brides, child betrothal, and all the rest. All of these things are abuse. They don't help us. They don't help women and girls to get productive in whatever they are doing, like you said earlier. So it's important that we advocate to end violence against women and girls.
Okay. Something caught my attention about what you said. You said your own focal point is it's not snitching is what is reporting. Have you had cases where people don't speak out because they feel like, oh, I'm probably reporting that person, or I'm snitching on that person? Because of course we've had cases of, or let's say I've read stories of women that have a particular girl child with them, and then they outrightly, let's say the girl child reports to them and they say, oh, keep quiet, you're trying to ruin my family, or you're trying to ruin my brother, or whoever the family. So what preventive measures do you think people should take towards this? Are there any sensitization organizations that go out there to tell people that, oh, people should learn to talk about it? And then, given the fact that people do not even want to talk again now, given the stereotypes of what happens, and then you see some women that you try to meddle and they say, oh, you're trying to meddle in my family affairs. I think about a few weeks ago, I saw a woman that they tried to save from her husband, and then she later said she was going back to her husband, that they were trying to ruin her home. About it. So what are the preventive measures that have been taken towards all of this?
Okay, so tomorrow we have a community outreach in 2 communities, you know, and what we're talking to them about is the fact that they should embrace people when they report. It's not easy for those people to report. So we told them what is violence. We're going to be telling them what is violence. We've been doing that sensitization. In fact, we started in school for the blind in October, and now we're going into community outreach. We're also going to school outreach. We're going to be doing all of that, and we're going to be telling people, we're going to be, you know, creating awareness on the fact that people should report. Because if they don't report, like I said earlier, we cannot invest. So we need people to talk about it. Then we can now say, okay, this is where we're investing, and we want to invest in the fact that, okay, this is what has happened, this is what has happened. Now, talking about marginalization, discrimination, and all of that, we talk about it to the extent that we say that it's important that you know, women support women. Because now the thing is, a lot of women think that what happened to them is different from what has happened to another person, you know. So we try to tell them that what happened to you is a different scenario. So don't use your own situation to cover up another person's situation. Like, oh, this what has happened to you is the same. What has happened to me is the same, for, you know, it's the same thing. So if it's the same thing, you can just bear it. It's your marriage and all of that. So we're saying, no, don't say that. If any woman comes to you with that kind of, look for help. Look for help. Good Times Philippine Missions Foundation is an organization that, you know, we have partners in different places where if you speak to us, we can help you. Whether it's therapy, whether it's you know, you need a place, a safe house, or whatever it is you need, you know, we can assist you with that. So that's what we're doing. We're saying it's important that you report this case, because if you don't report, like the famous musician that died, I heard that she told a friend about it, but they decided to keep it quiet, and because they kept it quiet, you know, it led to her death. Because that's why I was saying it the other day, that it's important that we break the silence, because if we break the silence, then we can move on.
It's not just the silence, there's a stereotype in the society that believes that, oh, when you speak out, you are putting your dirty linens in the public.
Exactly.
Is there anything we're doing to curb all of this? And not just dirty linens in public, there's still another thing in society that believes that, oh, women should guard and protect their family irrespective of whatever abuse they are going through. Is there anything we're actually doing or gearing towards to stop all of this?
That's why I say we're creating awareness about it, because I think it starts from the mind. If people do not understand that it's time for them to speak out and then talk to someone that they trust, then they begin to suffer in that particular circle where they are. And for the women that are thinking, oh, it's my family, let me keep it quiet, at the end of the day, when it blows out of proportion, you are unable to address the situation. Then you begin to look for help. At that time, everything is already spoiled. If you listen to the news, you see that most times these cases are already spoiled. They are cases that, you know, you don't even know how to do it. It's beyond redemption. You just look for a way to patch here, patch there, just to make sure that.
Is there really like beyond redemption when it comes to all of these cases, especially in cases of abuse? Because some persons even actually think that when you talk about abuse, they only think the only thing is physical violence. Some persons don't know that we still have the emotional, psychological, and of course this affects. I mean, I've heard the case of a woman that had cancer due to the fact that her husband always beat her up, and then another one had internal bleeding due to several all of this together.
Talking about beyond redemption is when we have death, because now we can't say anything is beyond redemption except death happens, and most times it's the situation is near death experience. That's when you now start hearing people talking about it, that this person, like what you just said now, she has cancer, she's about, you know, things like that. If there are no proper treatment, quick drastic action about that, you see that the person will die. So people always report when the case is just at the edge of maybe that thing wants to destroy. That's when you now see a lot of people coming up and say, oh, this is what is happening. We are saying at that time when it is happening, when you truly need that help, call us, let's help you, instead of allowing the, you know, a lot of people are afraid that if they talk about it, they would not be treated anonymously. I don't know how to explain it. They would start calling out their name and say, oh, this woman, and that's the reason why we advise them. We say, don't go to sometimes your daddy church or mommy church, because that's where they always go to, because those people are not therapists. They're not people that can offer some help, but sometimes they cannot do the proper job. So it's better you meet a therapist, a professional that can help you. Report these cases. If you report it, then from there you can start building up. Now I always tell people that all these cases of violence and all of these things, most time it doesn't just end in the courts. In the court law, say, okay, let your husband go to prison, because most times people, the reason why they don't report is because they say at the end of the day, they send my husband to the prison, look at my children, how do I do this, how do I do that, you know. So it's not all cases that ends up in the court. There's some cases that just through therapy, through, you know, here and there, you know, they can, through a little rehabilitation here and there, the person can pick up himself. But then some other people, they just feel like, no, let's be patching it, everybody's patching their own, let's patch our own, and at the end of the day, but then if you patch it, at the end of the day, you see that it becomes, you know, just like almost what I said, beyond redemption. Then you now start looking for help. At that time, you see a lot of people start running the helter-skelter because of you. We had a case of a girl that was pregnant, and she didn't tell anybody. You know sometimes when those girls are pregnant, at that time, especially when it's a rape case, they quickly take them to the hospital, and then they give them drugs and everything just to make sure that they are clean and all of that. They didn't report, they didn't see anything till the girl was fully pregnant. Then they now said they wanted to abort, you know, the pregnancy. And we started looking and saying, why do you now want to do this at this particular time? When this rape case happened, where were you people? They said they knew about it, but they don't want it to spoil the family name. They didn't want it to do this, they didn't want it to do that. At that time when that thing happened to her, a lot of things that you would have done, apart from even giving her drugs and all of that, we can find a way to clean and speak to her, because sometimes they feel like it's just the physical that is damaged. They forget about the mental state of the girl that was raped. So at that time, you bring that to someone that can help you, so that when the person speaks to her, from there she can start healing up, you know. But they will not want to talk about it. Say, it will spoil the family name, it will do this, it will do that, and at the end of the day, the girl now becomes pregnant, or even not even pregnancy. When she goes back to school, she's unable to learn. She's unable to, you know, she's depressed, PTSD, you know, no self-esteem. A lot of things now begin to happen. And then people will now say, it's because she's dull, it's because she's this. And even the teachers, they will not tell anybody about the case. They'll just keep quiet, they'll say it's a family thing. And at the end of the day, you see that those girls, they now go into sex working and all of that, because it starts from somewhere. So sometimes we don't get to deal with the root of these cases. We just come up and we deal with what is outside. But the root of the case is still there and it has not been dealt with. You see a lot of men these days that abuse their wives. Sometimes it's transgenerational. Their forefathers were doing it to their father.
Speaking about transgeneration, don't you think the society too helps to shape all of this? Because as you were speaking, I remember something that was trending, I think, about 2 days ago, about a certain couple that they've been married for 13 years and they relocated to the UK, and in 3 months the marriage crashed. And that's because the husband had been abusing the wife. Of course, in Nigeria, the Nigerian law, of course, if you take it to the police station, tell you his family matters, go and resolve yourself. But then in the UK, you know, we have strong laws that looks as if it's in favor of women, but actually it's against abuse. Do you think federal government needs to just do better, not just the society right now? Because now in most of these cases, even if you report to the police, what you hear is totally out of place.
Exactly. And that's the reason why I was saying it the other day. and I'll keep saying it, that we need gender decks at every police station. We need professionals, people that understand violence, people that are certified, that they're gender-based mental health certified, so that when they've undergone trainings on these things, because there's sometimes when we come to you with rape or something, you now know what to say, you know what to do. There was a case that we're handling. I heard about it, and then the IPO there immediately they brought the girl that was raped. The IPO said, "Oh yeah, take the girl to the hospital. Let them go, and before you remove the evidence, let them go and check her. Let them do this. Let them do that. Let there be a doctor that has seen that this and this has happened. Let them remove the evidence. Let them snap the evidence." And I really applauded her because she knew those things. So I'm just saying this because if there's a gender desk at every police station, it's not everybody that will now encounter that kind of IPO. That's correct. So it's important that we have that kind of situation. And sometimes I would say that let's not just keep everything on the government, because we know that the government has a part to play, a huge part to play when it comes to violence. But then as individuals, people that stay, because now if we continue to wait for the government, a lot of things will go bad. So as individuals, you know that your neighbor is doing this too. His wife. It's important that you shout about the matter. Report to the police station. The police station will find a way to speak to that particular family, or report if it's a community. Like that's what we're saying, the community where we're going to tomorrow. We're saying that the chiefs in those communities, they should please welcome anybody that is coming with any form of violence, and they should, if there's a way they can channel it to us, we'll know how to go about it from there.
Thank you very much, Lois. I'd like you to leave a note for our viewers at home about the 16 days activism, and not just that, a note to men, because we've been talking about women all along, talking about being abused. Not just women get abused all the time, and let's not look like we're tracking men. Of course. Yes. All right, I'd like you to leave a note to our viewers.
Okay, so I would just say that we need the men to form alliance with us, because we can't do this alone, and this advocacy is for everybody. I always say, because I'm a certified gender-based mental health advocate, and gender-based advocate means it's for everybody. Your gender is for everybody, both male and female. So I would say that we need you to also help us in this particular situation, to help fight violence against women and girls. And I'm a full advocate for female genital mutilation. I would always say this, that we need you to say no to female genital mutilation, because if you say no, then people around you will say no as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lois Amele. It's been an insightful one with you. We would have you before the 16 days actually ends. All right, our viewers at home, this is where we end it for this segment. After the break, we'll be joined by Fine Face in Sikak to talk about the recent happenings on the POLITY. Stay tuned.